Hey everybody, it's me, Tsukino Azura. I've been streaming for about a year now, and I did originally have a debut stream, but it was so rushed and scuffed that I figured, hey, what better time to make an actual debut stream than my stream anniversary. Of course, it's not exactly my stream anniversary because that was actually on Sunday, but I got caught up with my day job, which is unfortunate. Those nightmares were a little too rowdy on Sunday, so I wasn't able to have any time to introduce myself to you guys until today. But hello, I'm Tsukino Azura. You can just call me Azura if you want. I'm a Vtuber, and I'm a Dream Guardian. A Dream Guardian is a magical girl who resides in the dreamscape. That's a dimension where dreams appear. It's actually a really breathtaking place. It's just an endless glass ocean, as far as the eye can see. And then when people go to sleep, their subconsciousness falls into the dreamscape. It goes into the glass ocean, and it makes ripples. Those ripples form a bubble, and inside that bubble is kind of like a little pocket dimension that sometimes is a little bit stable, and other times it's actually very unstable. But that pocket dimension is people's dreams. And Dream Guardians are actually able to go inside those pocket dimensions to try and make sure that everything is okay and that there's no nightmares in there. I mentioned them a minute ago. Nightmares are these, I don't know how you describe them because they're beyond human comprehension. They just look like these formless shadows. They can shift their shape to be as terrifying as possible. They're just some sort of like beings or entities that just feed off of dream energy. Dream energy is just like the raw energy that's created when somebody dreams. It can be polarized to be positive or negative. And these nightmares go into people's dreams with the intentions of feeding off of people's dreams by scaring them, or terrorizing them, or tormenting them. That causes the dream energy to shift in polarity to be more negative. And then they feed off of it. And then when they feed off of it, they're able to grow in number, and they're able to spread out and affect more people. Have you ever woken up from a nightmare? A really bad one. And you just feel absolutely drained the next day. That's what I'm trying to prevent. And other Dream Guardians like me, because there's more. I'm not the only one. But I came up with this brilliant idea. I recently found out that some dreamers can have experiences in the real world that can predispose themselves to have their dreams draw more nightmares. Maybe you watched a scary movie or had some sort of terrible event happen to you and it's on your mind when you go to bed. Then when you go to sleep, your dream is going to reenact those events, and that's already going to put you in a downer state. And then that state draws more nightmares in, and then they enter your dream and they feast. And if they feast too much, they can actually pop the dream bubble. And when that happens, the dreamer can either wake up from a nightmare, or if the dreamer's lucky, they just won't have a dream that night, but they'll still get rest. But they won't be able to recall any sort of dream because the dream was pretty much destroyed. All the energy that made up was consumed. And while that's okay for the dreamer, that's bad for me because now once a whole dream gets destroyed, all that dream energy is loose, and the nightmares feed off of it and grow even larger in number. And then I have something called a nightmare surge, where these nightmares then spread out and try to find other dream spheres, other dream bubbles, and invade other people's dreams. And I can only be at so many of them at once. But fortunately, I found out that if someone has pleasant experiences, or otherwise has their mind put at ease when they go to sleep, their dream sphere or dream bubble will actually be reinforced and resistant to invaders. Invaders have to kind of knock down the shield first before they can get in. And I've been inside some really interesting dreams. Dreams are not really stable. They don't follow the same rules that your waking world does, where everything is kind of consistent. Although I guess in my terms, the waking world is kind of like a long dream too, because it also has a beginning and an end. And there are some dreamers that are able to dream somewhat consistent worlds before they destabilize. I've popped into dream bubbles where I swear I actually just entered the waking world, but when I really go and examine things, I notice some things are just not right. Maybe signs are in indecipherable language, or maybe clocks don't have hands, or digital clocks just read 0. There's little things you can do to realize that you're in a dream. But I guess in the waking world, it could be possible that the dream here is just so stable that no one really knows that they're asleep. But that's something that's beyond my knowledge. As far as I'm concerned, there's the waking world and the sleeping world. Now, my goal here is, this is my brilliant idea, is to just stream and broadcast myself to the internet in the waking world, with the goal to help put people's minds at ease so they can have sweet dreams. Those are the dreams that have that barrier around them that's resistant to nightmare attacks. It's resistant, not proof. Some really strong nightmares, those that have absorbed a lot of dream energy, can penetrate those barriers, and those ones are actually pretty dangerous. Some people's dreams are just destabilized on their own, but unfortunately when I enter a dream, I try to stay out of the view of the dreamer, because my presence could disrupt their dream. If you realize that someone else is in your dream and you can't really predict them because they seem like a different entity, that could disrupt your sleep and wake you up. And one side effect of me popping into dreams and slaying nightmares is it does kind of destabilize the dream a little bit. So if you've ever dreamed and then you realize that your dream has shifted and you're in a different place, that might be my doing, and I apologize. But the alternative is you get spooked by a nightmare and wake up, or you don't have a dream at all. And I feel like that's just terrible to not have dreams. I think it's terrible to wake up and not recall any sort of pleasant dream, because dreams are kind of, I see them as an escape from the waking world for people. A moment in time where it might be 6 hours or 8 hours in the waking world, but time dilation is such a big thing in the dream world, the scale could be a week. If you have a really pleasant dream, you can wake up 8 hours later and feel like you had a week's vacation at some tropical getaway. A little bit about myself. I'm 5'4". My gender is, it's complicated because things in dreams are not always what they seem. So if I try to examine myself, sometimes it's male, sometimes it's female. So I guess we can just go with both pronouns just to make things a little simple. My birthday, it's really hard to really pick a birthday because, you know, in the dreamscape, time is different. Time basically doesn't have the same consistent meaning as it does in the waking world. Time is mainly just something you use to gauge, to measure different events happening. Like, this event happened now, and then a few moments from now, this other event happened. So, I guess I just picked whatever birthday was the closest to... I don't know, I just picked a birthday I thought looked cool. So, 9/8 sounds pretty cool. So, September 18th, that's 9/18. And I just think those series of numbers looks pretty cool. But that also means my birth sign is Virgo. And Virgo is basically a maiden star sign. And after looking at the star signs in the waking world, I'm like, Virgo actually kind of really lines up with me. So I think I'm going to stick with that one. I do see that there are people in the chat. I don't mean to ignore people. I'm trying to move along with the slides because I've got a lot planned today. So as far as my likes and my dislikes, well, let's just put it down. I like pizza. Oh my goodness, I love pizza. Sometimes I'll invade people's dreams on my own where there's no nightmares nearby, just to see if there's pizza parlors in their dream worlds, and I'll just go and just check them out. Although I've known to disrupt dreams by doing that, unfortunately. Some of my favorite places to go in the waking world is there's like this pizza buffet chain I always love going to every now and then. And my favorite pizza has got to be pepperoni pizza. I'm trying to experiment with different pizzas, especially something I'm trying to get a flavor for to get it like really start enjoying is the triple meat pizza. That's where you got pepperoni and you've got sausage and you've got ham. It's usually 3 meat pizza, and it's actually really good. Normally I could eat maybe like most of a pizza, but if I eat a 3 meat pizza, I could only have 1 or 2 slices, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm done. Something else I like is fried chicken. If it's deep fried and it's breaded, I'm probably gonna eat it. If I'm eating like actual chicken that have like legs, wings, etc., I'll eat the crap out of a chicken leg, dude. I normally eat only white meat, but like chicken legs, it's like the perfect food. It's got handles on both sides. It's like eating corn, but it's meat and it's juicy and it's crunchy. It's kind of a tie between this one place called Popeyes and this other place called Kentucky Fried Chicken. I can't really decide which one is the better one. Maybe next time I get a chance to go into the waking world some more, I'll just sample both a little more and really decide what I want. My favorite drinks, I really like Dr. Pepper. It's something about the flavor palette of it. You can't really place exactly what the flavor is, but it's all like different, really tasty flavors. And if there's no Dr. Pepper, I'll have Mr. Pibb, but I prefer Dr. Pepper. You just can't replace that. And then there's also another type of drink called cheer wine. Aside from its name, it's not actually wine, and there's a bit of a funny story about it. I don't know if this is just an urban legend or if this is true, but apparently cheer wine is only found in the southeastern United States. It's kind of localized. It's slowly branching out to other spots. But they originally were expanding north, up to the northeast, and people honestly thought it was alcohol because of the name was called cheer wine. Cheer as in cherry and cherry wine, but also cheer as in cheers. So it's kind of a genius name. There was a beverage that doesn't exist anymore, but it was called Dr. Pepper Red Fusion. It was in the early 2000s. And I absolutely loved that drink, but it's just gone. But seeing as we're having a resurgence of some old foods coming back, maybe Dr. Pepper will bring it back as a permanent flavor. Of course, I like video games. Duh, I've kind of streamed them for a year here. And I also like anime, or else I wouldn't be a Vtuber. I mean, why would I be an anime girl if I didn't like the anime? Although I don't really give myself a lot of time to watch any more contemporary anime. But that's something I want to do, is I just want to try and find some cool anime to watch. And if I'm not eating pizza or food or drinking or playing video games, I really like to go swimming when it gets warm outside. I love to swim for hours. I'll just go out there. I will get sunburned, even though I put on sunblock, because I just like to go swim. I especially like to go swim in the ocean during high tide, because you really get a workout out there, especially when the water's nice and warm. It's really, really good. Although, unfortunately, my closest portal into the waking world is not very close to the ocean. It would take you about 4 hours to get to it, which is unfortunate. So I can usually only get to it once a year. I hope I can make it this year, because I really do like swimming in the ocean. Even if it kind of smells a little bit and you get all sticky afterward and have to really take a shower. About dislikes. Vegetables, man. I'm like really sensitive to flavors and stuff. So vegetables just don't have a flavor, they just have a texture, or some of them have a slight flavor, and it's usually really bitter. Something I didn't list on likes is like crunchy fruit, like chips. You'd think I'd like vegetables because they are crunchy, but I don't know, maybe I just haven't found how to properly eat vegetables. Maybe you don't just eat them raw, maybe you're supposed to steam them, or smother them in cheese or something. I don't know, maybe I should try a celery stick dipped in nacho cheese. Maybe that would be pretty good. Textbooks, man. Like, reading a book is fine, like reading some fantasy books, or like going on the internet and maybe reading some really interesting creepypastas can be fun, but textbooks for some reason is just like the driest thing you can read. It is so boring. And of course, school. I didn't really like school, because school kind of felt like prison to me. It's like you wake up early in the morning, you're dog tired, you really don't want to get out of bed, you wish you could just sleep into 8. No, you have to get up, and you have to be shuttled in a bus. Then you gotta go to school, and in school kind of feels like a prison with concrete walls and fluorescent lights that buzz. I mean, nowadays they got LED lights that are quiet, but they're really, really bright. But I just remember, like, you ever saw the back rooms and you hear that hum? That's what it was like to be in school when I went to school. You had that hum. That and the hallways usually were like on the interior of the building, and only the classrooms had windows, so like walking through the hallways was kind of like walking through the back rooms, and it was just miserable. I mean, you could have friends, you could find friends in school, but the problem is I kept changing schools so much that I never really got a chance to make a lot of friends, which did suck. And then it just felt like you're just counting down the hours so you can finally get home and finally play games or do the things you like to do. And it's like you have to do this for 5 days a week, every week except for maybe like a couple months out of the year. The only good thing about school versus where I am now with my day job fighting nightmares is at least you got a break from it. At least you had like a few weeks and a couple months every year. But like when you go out into the real world, you don't get a break because nightmares don't rest. Favorite video games? Oh my, I play a lot of video games. It was really difficult to just pick out a few because there's way more than this, but I had to generalize it through like a number of series that I know are like my top, and then the genres of games I like to play. So of course you got Super Mario. It's probably one of the first games I played. I remember with my grandmother, I used to play Super Mario Bros. 3 with her, and we do co-op, and we got as far as, I think it was the Big Tiny World, whatever world that was. And the Mario games can be pretty fun and pretty challenging. I'd say they're probably middle of the road in terms of difficulty. Although going back and playing the very first Super Mario game can be a little bit rough because the physics are a little bit different. But my big one is The Legend of Zelda. I really enjoyed The Legend of Zelda, including The Legend of Zelda on the original Nintendo. Zelda 2 Adventure of Link, though, that one's a little bit of a tough one because it's more of like an action role-playing game, and as a little kid, I didn't really have the patience to grind stuff out. I just wanted to make progress. So that's unfortunate, but one of my big ones, I really, really loved Ocarina of Time. That was probably the biggest one for me because when I grew up, I was playing Zelda on the NES, even though I kind of came into the long dream around the 90s, and the Super Nintendo was out. We didn't have a Super Nintendo in my house, so I went from NES right to Nintendo 64. And I remember seeing Mario 64 and having my mind blown away. I'm like, wow, games are like 3D and have full range of movement and stuff. And then when Ocarina of Time came out, it's like you get transported into a realized world with a day and night cycle. You have characters to talk to. The dimensions are 3D. And you have free range of movement, so it's easier to dodge enemy attacks. There's side quests. There's nooks and crannies with secrets. It was so much fun. And I'm definitely going to be playing that in the near future. But right now I'm actually doing a playthrough of Breath of the Wild, which is kind of like giving me the same vibes as The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I, of course, like Final Fantasy games. I can't really pick a particular one. The very first one I played was actually Final Fantasy III on Nintendo DS. That's actually never came out in the United States originally until it came out on the DS. I did try playing Final Fantasy XIII on Xbox, and it was so different that I didn't like it. I just dropped it. Like, I never got to Grand Pulse, basically. Like, I sat down and I played it, and Final Fantasy XIII is a very linear experience, and you have to build your characters a specific way, and it's almost impossible to grind your characters up if you build your characters wrong. And then, like, I got to the point where I kept getting stuck on bosses, and I had to have a GameFAQs guide open up to tell me what party layout I needed with what skills, and I just got so frustrated I wound up dropping it. But I'll go back. I'll play Final Fantasy III. I'll play Final Fantasy IV. I'll play Final Fantasy V. Those ones are fun. I actually like those. So I don't know what the frick they were thinking about with 13. I even played Final Fantasy 12 and had fun with that one. So I don't know. I just think the 13 was a miss. I did play 15 though. Final Fantasy 15 was 14 is the MMO one I haven't played. I need to play that one. But 15 was pretty fun because you were like 5 guys in a car just hanging out doing bro things. And it kind of feels like a zombie survival game too at times, because when it becomes nighttime, it's like the monsters become even more dangerous and stuff. So it's pretty cool. Then of course you can't mention RPGs without mentioning Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest is pretty fun from like the very first game all the way to the most recent one because they're pretty much consistent. Final Fantasy, if you've gone back and played the classic Final Fantasy games, Final Fantasy 1 is a turn-based RPG where you kill monsters and gain experience, but then Final Fantasy 2 kind of plays like the Saga games where you don't gain experience, you just have a chance to like level up one of your attributes or something. And then they go back to the original formula of Final Fantasy 3 and add in the job system where there's more than 4 jobs, which is pretty cool. The Dragon Quest has some slight variation in its gameplay between games, but the big thing is it's always like the best way to play Dragon Quest and beat Dragon Quest is just grind monsters to get gold, go into the next town you have access to, buy the best equipment, and as long as you do that, you should be able to get through the game with little to no difficulty. It's just more of a dedication thing versus a, oh god, this boss is immune to physical attacks and now I have to change all my characters' classes to be magic to be able to hit it. Although that can be fun, it can be also really frustrating. If I were to pick a favorite Dragon Quest game, I kind of like Dragon Quest 3. And I'm waiting for the 2D HD game to come out, but I swear it's probably not going to come out at this point. But I mean, what's going to come out sooner? Dragon Quest 3 2D HD, Silk Song, or Metroid Prime 4? Which one's coming out first? I really did like, was it Dragon Quest 9 on the Nintendo DS? Whichever one was the one that was on the DS. That's the one I really enjoyed. I played that when I was in high school, and it was so cool because you actually could. It was like it was like Dragon Quest 3 with the class and job change system. You could freely change your character's jobs, and you could create characters too, which is really cool. but like all their equipment, like when you equip weapons and armor and stuff, it's actually reflected on your character, which was also really neat on the Nintendo DS. And it was local multiplayer, and it had online features as well. Like they're like, you can't do it now because Nintendo's DS online stuff is dead, but at the time you could actually download additional dungeons. So like when you beat Dragon Quest IX, optional dungeons would pop up that are just like randomly generated, and you could also like share codes with people, and there's like more content in the game. It was really crazy. It was really fun. I like, it was really big for a lot of people, especially in Japan. Like in Japan, basically Japan shut down for the day when the game came out because nobody wanted to work. They wanted to play the new Dragon Quest IX game, and it was that good. And I think that's probably like the highlight. I have been playing through the Dragon Quest game that came out on the Switch, the one that you can switch between the classic 2D style and the modern style. And I've also played Dragon Quest VIII on the 3DS that was originally on the PlayStation 2, but I haven't finished any of those games. Maybe I'll play through one of those in the future. It might be fun. I probably won't play through the Dragon Quest games in order. I'll probably burn out, but it'd be pretty fun. Phantasy Star Online. I first played Phantasy Star Online with Phantasy Star Universe, which some people might say it's not the best game to start with. But I really got into Phantasy Star Online with the new one, Phantasy Star Online 2. I actually played it when it came out in Japan, because there was a translation patch that was available for it, and I played the living crap out of the original PSO2. And I've dabbled with New Genesis when it came out over here, but it just didn't really hit the same, and I kind of dropped it, mainly because I went through most of the content in PSO2. By the time it came out west, it was like, when it first came out, it didn't have a lot of content. But they've picked up on it. Apparently, there's now a Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis version 2. That's a long freaking title. PSO2 NGSV2. Good lord. It sounds like a light novel title. Holy sh... It's a pretty fun game. Like, Phantasy Star Online 2, you do have to time your attacks a little bit, but the game's real fast. But then New Genesis kind of, like, just throws that out the window. You don't have just attacks anymore. They've completely removed it, and you can just mindlessly mash the attack button. So, I guess if you want to play a game where you can just, like, attack things and gain levels and see number go brr, then you could play that. But for me, I dropped New Genesis because it was just basically... I'm trying to progress the story, and it's like, oh, your power level needs to be at this level to progress, and it's like, oh, great, I gotta go to, like, this area and just, like, grind the same 10 enemies over and over until I'm, like, high enough level. And then I also have to, like, luck out and have gear drop that will be stronger, because you can't go to stores to buy better gear. You have to fight enemies and they drop it. It's kind of like Diablo, where it's, like, looting, but... it's like scaled in such a way to make it so that you just grind the game more and more, kind of like Ragnarok Online. But I don't know, I might get back into it. I have to be in the mood for it. That's the strange thing. But I'll play the crap out of the original Phantasy Star Online 2, which still is up. It still exists. You can still play it. It is neat that Sega did have both of these games kind of run parallel and interact with each other, which is really cool. Donkey Kong Country, oh my god. I actually played Donkey Kong Country 3 when it was on Super Nintendo at the kiosk at a store called Toys R Us, which a lot of people may not know what that is anymore because it kind of went the way of the dodo, which is unfortunate. I actually still have the Jeffrey plush. It's a bit of a sad story. I went into the Toys R Us in my local area, and the lady came out with like a shopping cart full of like the Jeffrey plush dolls, and I thought maybe I shouldn't get one, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get one because those are going to be gone. And you can't get them anymore because they're going out of business. But I played Donkey Kong Country 3 first, and that's actually the one I enjoy doing because it's more of like an adventure game, even though it's a side-scrolling platform. Because you got this world map of little side areas you can go into, and it's really fun. Although Kiddy Kong can be a bit cumbersome to throw around with Dixie. But I've actually played all three of them. I really enjoyed Donkey Kong Country on the Game Boy Advance, because there's like Game Boy Advance ports of all three games. And the first two are kind of faithful, but the third one, they redo all the music for some reason. And I actually have the soundtrack of the Super Nintendo version of DKC 3, And I really like the Super Nintendo soundtrack, but I can understand why they redid it for the Game Boy Advance, because like all the lows that are in that soundtrack don't sound good on the Game Boy Advance speaker. It sounds really crappy. So I can understand why they did it. And some of the new music track is actually pretty good. Although Donkey Kong Country is a tough game to play. Like in terms of platformer difficulty, it's like the Kirby games are the easiest that spike up in difficulty. Mario's middle of the road. Sonic it's probably gonna be Kirby, then Sonic, then Mario, then Donkey Kong Country, and then Crash Bandicoot. All the way at the end is like the most difficult platformer is gonna be Crash Bandicoot. Minecraft. Oh my god, that's my addiction. It's been my addiction for like 10 years, dude. You see, when I played video games, some games had the ability to have you build stuff, but it was very limited. Or if like you're playing Breath of the Wild and you like blow up trees and knock them down, if you go away and come back, the trees come back. Minecraft it's a sandbox game. Everyone knows what the hell Minecraft is. It's a game with the creepers that all the kids play. But when it first came out in Minecraft Alpha, someone told me it's a fully open world, infinite procedurally generated game. Like you can keep exploring and it keeps just generating more game. And you can blow up a mountain. You can walk 1,000 blocks away from it. You can come back and that mountain still exploded. It was the fact that the world is not only open and has stuff to explore and caves to explore, but the fact that everything you build in that game stays. It's persistent. It's not like where you walk away and then the hill regenerates or something. It remembers. The game remembers everything you've changed in the world. And that's the coolest thing in the world, because I'm like, oh my god, it's like a sandbox. I can build a city over here. I can build a city over there. I can build like a highway connecting the two together. It is so much fun. Maybe a little too much fun. I've lost so much sleep because of that game. And then when you start modding that game, you start adding mods into it, it's over. Wonder why my gaming backlog's so darn big. It's because Minecraft's much like the last game on the list, Skyrim, is just one of those lightning in the bottle games that kind of disrupted the games industry. The next one is Sonic the Hedgehog. I never owned a Sega system. Well, except the Sega Game Gear. I have a Game Gear. But the Sonic games on the Game Gear are like really brutal. They're really, really rough because they're Sega Master System games that have been crunched down to like a tiny screen. So you have less of a view window, but the level design still thinks you're playing on a big screen, so there's a lot of unfair blind jumps, which... Sega, what the frick, dude? But Sonic 2 on the Sega Genesis, that's my go-to. When I hear Sonic the Hedgehog, the first game that comes to mind is Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on Sega Genesis. In store kiosks and at like a childhood friend's place, they'd had a Sega Genesis. I'd play the living crap out of it. I'd probably get up to like Mystic Cave Zone before I run out of lives. But now I'm actually pretty competent at the game that I can make it all the way up to Metal Sonic? Mecha Sonic? Metal Sonic's and Sonic CD. I can make it up to Mecha Sonic before I start running into some trouble, but usually I have so many lives I can usually knock it out pretty good. And then there's Mario Kart. Oh man, Mario Kart. I actually played every single Mario Kart game. I've played Mario Kart on Super Nintendo, but I played it after I played Mario Kart Super Circuit and Mario Kart 64. My very first Mario Kart was Mario Kart 64. And going back and playing Mario Kart 64 on Switch Online is a little bit weird because the physics and the controls are so different. If you go back and if you play Mario Kart 8, go load up the Super Nintendo Online and go play the very first Mario Kart. It's really difficult to figure out how to do mini turbos and stuff because the controls and the gameplay is just so different. If you want to have in the Super Mario Kart experience, but it'd be a little bit more modernized, your best bet is actually to play the Game Boy Advance version because it has mini turbos and stuff, but you still kind of slide all around the track. The physics feel all weird, like you're on ice or something. That's how the games were. But it's so much chaotic fun, even though I might get upset and may want to throw my controller at times when I'm about to win and I get blue shelled and then hit by a lightning bolt and then hit by a red shell and then just Bowser runs me over right afterwards, just to add insult to injury and go from first place to 12th place on the final lap of the home stretch. That is so frustrating, but that's also what makes it so much chaotic fun. It's really fun to play it online too. Maybe sometime I should get Switch Online and just do that with a bunch of viewers. That'd be pretty fun. Then there's Chrono Trigger. Oh my god. I played Chrono Trigger off and on in high school, and then they released the Nintendo DS version of it that had like extra stuff added into it, including an additional chapter post-game that kind of links Chrono Trigger with Chrono Cross, which I did play Chrono Cross but didn't finish. I kind of dropped it at one point. I'll put it back on my Switch and play through it at some point. But Chrono Trigger was so much fun. You want to talk magnum opus of classic RPGs, Chrono Trigger. Don't at me. It's Chrono Trigger. If someone says I want to play the best classic 16-bit RPG, Chrono Trigger. That's it. There's no discussion. That's the RPG right there. You have multiple characters. It looks like it's set in like a medieval type of fantasy setting, but it's actually set in like medieval fantasy, antiquity, magic, caveman times, and distant future with robots. It's all over the place because it does time travel, and it does time travel well because when you go and play through the game, you'll go back and forth through time and actually change things in the timeline, and then when you go back to other time periods, you'll see your changes. Like, there's a town that's full of monsters that are like friendly or something, and then after a little bit, those humans will move to that town and monsters will move into the human town. They're kind of like working together or something. It's really cool. And there's also a statue in the center of the monster town that changes. There's like little tiny things you can miss. So it's one of those games you want to play through multiple times, and you can. In fact, when you do Game Plus into Chrono Trigger, you can actually just jump right into the final boss fight if you're freaking insane. But you can do that. Metroid. Metroid on NES is actually really hard for me to play. I got into the Metroid games with Metroid Prime on the GameCube, and that's a really fun game. And then I went back and played some of the more classic Metroid games. I've actually played through when Dread was coming out in a past life. I actually played every Metroid game, or at least a remake of it. I remember doing Metroid Zero Mission on Game Boy Advance, and then AM2R, which is a fan game that's basically Samus Returns, but stylized like Zero Mission. Then Super Metroid, then Metroid Fusion. Oh my god, Metroid Fusion's freaking hard. And then playing through Metroid Dread, which is really, really fun. I cannot wait for Prime 4 to come out. It's been 6 years. Where the frick is it, Nintendo? Seriously, at this point it's going to be on the next system, and I'm going to be sad because I don't want to buy a whole new system to get one game. At that point, I'll just watch someone play it. And then the last one on the list is Skyrim. Aside from Minecraft, Skyrim's my next addiction. I mean, it's an action role-playing game set in first person. You have different races you can play as. You have so many different skills. And you're not really locked into a class either. Like, you basically level up your skills just by using your skills over and over. And then after the skills level up a certain amount of times, your character levels up, and then you get perk points that you can fit into, like, the different skills. But then there's other ways to increase your character's stats, like there's little quests you can do that can give you permanent bonuses and stuff. There's weapons, there's characters, there's followers, and then there's the mods. Like, if you play Skyrim right now with, like the Anniversary Edition that has all the creator content stuff in it, it feels like playing it with mods, but it's not, and it's like all these additional player homes and all these additional quests and stuff you can do. Just playing through that package is probably going to take you half a year to get through, provided your save data doesn't corrupt, because like the longer you save your game, the more likely it's just going to die, which sucks. I've played other Elder Scrolls games in the past too. I've tried playing Morrowind, but that one's a little harder to get into if you start with Skyrim. And of course, you see I got genres here. I like my platformers like Mario. I like my kart races like Mario Kart. RPGs I'm really big on. I like your action-adventure games, including like point-and-click games. Maybe I'll play like a point-and-click game if it's pretty fun or it has like a mystery to solve. And then like craft and survive sandbox games are my big one. Like Minecraft, Terraria, Starbound, Enshrouded, stuff like that. It's just kind of fun to just like explore a world and be able to build a base and be like, this is my castle. What about favorite anime? You can tell I'm really dated and I don't watch a lot of contemporary anime just from the list. I mean, Sailor Moon should be obvious by my design. I watched Blue Reflection, but I never finished Blue Reflection because Funimation just got shut down, so thanks a lot, Crunchyroll. But Blue Reflection is like another Magical Girl anime. And then I really liked Samurai Champloo because Nujabes worked on it, and that music was real good, and it was just like watching a bunch of samurai guys going and having like little adventures, and it was fun to watch. I can only remember the music from Samurai Champloo. It was just like a really cool style, really cool mix of styles together. I really liked Inuyasha. I loved watching that. I watched that when it was on Adult Swim all the time. I want to sit down and like watch every episode back to back. And because I was around for the early 2000s, Melancholy of Haruhi. Like, you think Nightcore, you can't think Nightcore about like somehow coming across either Lucky Star or Melancholy of Haruhi. I actually watched the Disappearance of Haruhi movie, and it was a hell of a movie. So to watch, featuring time travel and like alternate worlds or something. It was pretty interesting. I don't want to spoil it. I don't know if it's still on YouTube fully uploaded or not, because that's where I watched it. It may not. You might have to find it like on Netflix or something, but it's called The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. It's a pretty good movie to watch. Even if you've never watched the anime, it kind of does a good job explaining the whole setting of the story. Then, oh my god, Cowboy Bebop. You want good anime to watch? Cowboy Bebop. That's a good one right there. In fact, last year I was playing through a game called Neon White, and the main character in Neon White is actually voiced by the same person who voiced Spike in Cowboy Bebop. So I'm like just over here thinking in my head canon, like when Cowboy Bebop ends, the events of Neon White begin. But that's not how it went at all. I don't want to spoil the ending of Neon White. Just go play it. That's a really fun game to play. Favorite music? I've got like a wide range of music, from electronic music to classic rock to like modern rock. So we got Deadmau5. I used to think it was called Deadmau5 because I'm an idiot. Deadmau5 is really good. Then there's Hyper Potions. Then there's a band you may not have heard of called Big Something. That's actually a really good modern band. Then there's the Grateful Dead, or I think they're just called the Dead now. I think everyone's kind of like a Deadhead at this point. They have really, really good music. Really, it's music you just kind of listen to and jam out to. Just, don't do drugs. or do, but like there's people that actually do trip. They go to Dead concerts and they do trip out. And like the music is actually done in such a way so it guides your trip or something. I've heard. I've never done that. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't recommend anyone do that. But I mean, if you go to a Dead concert, you're gonna smell some weed. It's just gonna happen. Some really like hippy dippy people over there, but they're usually really chill and really cool. Then there's Redvox. I recently came across Redvox because I watch Vinesauce, and Vinesauce Vinny, he's actually in the band Redvox, and it's really good music. It's kind of similar to like Big Something and Mo and others like that, because Mo's the next one. Mo concerts are really cool, and it's actually spelled just like that, M-O-E with a dot at the end. It's really hard to find their music on YouTube because you type in Mo live, and then like half the time you'll get like The Simpsons Mo. And what's really cool is the band actually started using Mo from The Simpsons in like some of their merchandise, which is kind of funny. And they called their fans Mo-Rons. But that was a really cool group. I don't know if they still play anymore. But Mo is basically like they do this real cool thing where for the whole set it's just continual music. It's not like they play a song and then stop and then play another song and stop. Like they'll have like for 1 hour they'll do this whole set of music, and then what they'll do is they'll just start jamming out in between the songs they play and lead one song into the other. It's so cool, and it just gives you a lot of time just to kind of jam out and dance around and have a good time. There's Nujabes. I found Nujabes through Adult Swim because they play his music on some of the bumps, and it's really good chill out lo-fi music, but unfortunately Nujabes is no longer alive. I think he died in a car accident or something. It was terrible. He died really young. And that's a shame because he made really good music. Then there's Macross 8299. The Vaporwave, future funk stuff. Macross just basically just takes city pop and just kind of like chops and screws it a little bit. It's kind of like remixes or something. But it's really sample heavy. Then there's Ghost Data, who does kind of something similar to what deadmau5 does, but focused more on future funk stuff. And they kind of strayed away from it and do their own, like, I don't know if it's like trance music or what, but it's really good. Heart of a Mouse was one track I really liked from Ghost Data. I didn't mention one track I liked from Macross. I think it's Selfish High Heels. It's something I like from Macross. Then there's Saint Pepsi. One of the tracks they play is Cherry Pepsi, and I just happen to have some Cherry Pepsi next to me. And that's a really good track. If you liked Saint Pepsi, they actually retired Saint Pepsi, and they're doing their own music under the name Skylar Spence. And it's actually really good music. I think there's one track called, I don't know what it's called, but it's like the hook is Love You to the Record Drops, and that's a pretty good one. There's Luxury Elite, and one of my favorite tracks from Luxury Elite is Observation Deck. Luxury Elite's music is actually more like, it's like old 80s pop music, but it's just like the backing tracks for it, slowed down. You'll find a lot of Luxury Elite's music put to like footage of like late 80s, early 90s shopping malls and stuff. Kind of drifts into that vaporwave feel to it. If you were born in the 90s and the 2000s, you could just close your eyes and listen to that music and just like, now you're back at like a Toys R Us or something. It's kind of a trip. And then finally there's Moe Shop. Oh my god, Moe Shop. I can't give you like one track from Moe Shop that I find as my favorite. I think one I could pick off is, I think it's called Feel So Good or something. I can't play it on stream because I'll get copyrighted so hard, but it's pretty fun music to jam out to. It really, really leans heavy into that that future funk style. How about some goals? What are my goals? I mean, we don't have to hit these goals this year, but these are just basically like semi-long-term goals. The first goal is to get 1,000 subscribers over here on YouTube and then achieve monetization on YouTube. I mean, I don't have to have enough money to earn a living, but just have enough to get like, I don't know, get some chicken McNuggets or a pizza. It'd be pretty cool. It's like, oh, I'm actually earning money from doing this. This is pretty neat. I want to get 1,000 followers on Twitch and achieve affiliate status on Twitch as well, because that way I could have emotes and stuff, and it'd be really freaking cool. And I always kind of wanted to get that affiliate status on Twitch, and I've been trying at it, but I don't know if I'm trying hard enough or what, but it'd be really cool to grab it. I got a really big video game backlog, dude. You have no idea how large it is. Like, it's not just my Nintendo Switch. It's like I have like, I think I looked at Play Night. I have Play Night open right now. I could check. I forgot to get into statistics on Play Night. Oh, it's this little button. Let's see. 606 games on Play Night, according to Play Night. So there might be some games that Play Night hasn't picked up on my computer across like Epic Games and Steam and Good Old Games and stuff like that. There's 606 games on PC. There's over 200 games on Nintendo Switch. There's over probably like close to 300 games for 3DS, and maybe like 200 on the DS. And then the further back we go, the more games there are. I mean, there's a lot of games I can play. But I want to get to that backlog because it's kind of a shame, right? It's something that's a fear of mine, is to depart from this world and have games that I own that I haven't finished, or at least haven't played, and decided that I just don't want to play it anymore. Like, it's like having a movie that you never watch that you own, or like buying a pizza that you never eat, right? It's just like, you gotta finish it. I want to build a community of awesome people. I mean, who doesn't want to do that? And like most of your VTubers, like, I want to get million subscribers and play buttons and this, that, and the other thing, and open a throne and blah, blah, blah. No, I want to build a community with awesome people, because that's something that a lot of VTubers don't do. They're just like, money, and then they fall off in like 2 years, because it's about the community. It's about finding like-minded people. You get money on the side, that's great. But for the most part, you just want to create a space where you can find people that are into the same stuff that you're into, and then create a space where they can all just hang out and play together. And I'm already doing that right now. I mean, I have 2 awesome people that popped in the chat right now, and I have a Discord that has like, I think 10 people in it. I want to get a VTuber wiki page made of me. It's like vtuber.wiki, I think. I don't have one yet. I want to have one. Oh my goodness. It's gonna happen eventually. But it'd be really cool just to see like Tsukino Azura on the VTuber wiki page. And then finally, I want to meet lots of awesome people. Because like, being a Dream Guardian is a really lonely job. I mean, yeah, there's other Dream Guardians, but they're like, the space between us is so great because the Dream Plane's basically infinite. So you don't really get an opportunity to interact with people, and you can't really interact with the Dreamers in the Dreamscape because then they'll wake up, and you don't want to do that. It's bad. About my socials and stuff. So of course, like across all my socials, it's usually just Tsukino Azura, and I just put X/Twitter because everyone knows what the heck Twitter is, but I don't know what the heck X is. The fan name is just Dreamers. I've just called people Dreamers. Maybe in the future, maybe when we get a big enough community, maybe people could decide they don't want to be Dreamers. They want to be called something else. But for now, I just call everyone Dreamers because, well, that's what you guys are when you go to sleep. You're the Dreamers, and my duty is to make sure that nightmares are not invading your dreams. As far as hashtags go, livestream is Azure Streams. And if you like clip, if you want to like retweet streams or something, you could use Azure Streams as well. Art is Dream Paint. Because if you put art in a hashtag, you get Artbot, so like putting paint in usually works. If you're using AI generated stuff, just put AI art alongside Dream Paint. There's no like AI hashtag. I need to update my Twitter profile to have all these new hashtags. The not safe for work hashtag. Yeah, so like if you didn't hear it, the not safe for work hashtag is. And the clips hashtag is, of course, Azure Clips. So when you like clip me on YouTube or on Twitch and you share it around, just do like hashtag Azure Clips. So I can go through and find them on social media and heart them and retweet them. Now, here's the point where if anyone in the chat wants to ask me any questions, feel free to do so. I'll just yammer on a little bit to give some people some time. And I'll give it like a couple minutes. If I don't see anything pop up, I'll just move on to the next slide, but that's okay. But there's one question I do get asked from time to time, and some people ask me if I'm transgender, and I'm not. Like, if you're ever someone that just plays as a girl in a video game and it's really just kind of that simple, it's just like that. There's some phrase, I think it's called autogynephoria or something. I don't know, it's weird. I just saw it online. I don't know if that's actually true or not. It might be BS. But there is that. No, not transgender. Nah, just want to be an anime girl. Just different. I'm actually really comfortable with how I am in real life. And I've actually asked people that are trans, like, how do you know if you are? And they say it's like you have a migraine or something. You just know. I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm not. And that's actually really good because, like, there's a lot of people that try to gaslight people into thinking something they're not, and I don't like that. As far as favorite places to go on vacations, definitely like going to the beach. I haven't been to the mountains, but That might be an interesting change of pace to go up into the mountains, go hiking. But I really like swimming though, so that's why I usually stick to the beach. As far as the very first video game console I ever owned, that would be the Nintendo Entertainment System, although that wasn't mine. My very first console was the Nintendo 64. And the game with the longest amount of playtime would probably have been Star Fox 64 or Ocarina of Time. It's like a mixture of the two. Technical Tech Prince Kumar says, Hello. Hello. On Tsukino Azura, I'm doing a debut right now. If anyone has questions at the moment, I'll answer them. And I'm just trying to pause for some dead air. But I might move on to the next slide. I just had this slide here in case people were had any questions. Devo says, when's the next Minecraft stream? I only played once. I don't have one planned. Do I have an open slot on the schedule this week? Because if I do, we could do it then. I think it's Thursday, right? I think it's tomorrow. We could do it tomorrow if you wanted to pop on and do Minecraft then. Because we could do that. That'd be pretty fun. I don't think people have many other questions. I'll just move on because I've got so many things planned today. So this is what's going on today, and actually I've run over, so I'm not gonna have time to make any lunch. Darn it, I'll just be hungry. Fuck. Because it was supposed to start at 2 o'clock, so I'll probably bump that down to like 2:30 to give myself time to eat and get up and move around for a little bit. You don't want to have blood clots. It's not good. Technical Tech Prince Kamar says, where are you from, buddy? I'm actually from the Dreamscape, the Dream Plane. It's a plane of reality where dreams form. But I guess if you want to know, like, where my closest portal into the waking world is, it's in the United States. East Coast, I guess. Because, I guess from, like, what I've looked up online, it's around there. It's, like, it's somewhere along the East Coast. Like, southeastern United States, basically. It's kind of hard to tell where you are when you pop out of the dreamscape. It's a little strange. But after the debut today, it was supposed to be at 2 o'clock, but it's going to start at 2:30 now because I've just run over a little bit. I'm going to play Breath of the Wild. We're going to make some progress, knock out one of the Divine Beasts, because we're almost done with the game. And then, after 5, I'll take a break and I'll probably have dinner. And then, at 6 o'clock, I'll be playing with the community, so you can do Minecraft dungeons, etc. And then at 9:30, it says from 9:30 to 1 a.m., but it's probably going to be like a little earlier. It depends how tired I am. But then I'll probably just play Minecraft and just chill out and wind down for the night. And then there's the final slide, which is this week's schedule. So I did Freedom Planet stream yesterday over on my Twitch, and that's actually a playthrough, so I'm going to upload that VOD sometime tonight after all of today's streams. Then today is the Streamiversary celebration, and tomorrow I didn't really plan any particular games on Twitch. I usually try to do this once a week. I'll have like one game on Twitch that I don't plan what game, just leave it open in case people want to play games with me. And then Friday, I'm playing more Breath of the Wild. But I think that's about it for today, for now. In about 30 minutes time, I'm going to start a stream up again, and I'm going to be playing The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I'm right at the Divine Beast in the desert, the big camel. And that one's actually pretty rough at times, because you have to do a lot of electric puzzles, but it's going to be pretty fun to play through. I'm getting close to the end of finishing that game, but there's still a little bit more content to do. I'm going to have to do, like, the Champion's Ballad and stuff, and there's, like, that one point where you have, like, the instant kill weapon that also instant kills you if you get hit. That one might be a very clip-worthy sequence, I guess, because I'll probably get a little mad. But anyway, check back in about 30 minutes. So I'm going to open up a waiting room and everything right now. And I'll see you guys over there playing Zelda. Until then, thank you for watching the stream, and I'll be back in 30 minutes-ish. Bye, everybody. It was nice to meet you all. And I hope we have a lot of fun times going forward for the rest of this year. I don't know how to end my streams. I'll be back in like 30 minutes. Like, seriously, I'm hungry. I want food.